listening to the Hometown Losers, the St. Louis Sports Podcast, with Josh, Adam, and OJ.
Hey everybody, welcome back here to the Hometown Losers Podcast, session number 34 coming at you. I'm joined by always with my co-host here in OJ and Adam. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back here. How is it going for you, OJ?
It's going pretty good for me.
Awesome.
Normal day.
How's it going for you, Josh?
You know, same old, right? As OJ just put out, it's pretty much a normal day, normal week for us. And
other than being 1,000,000 degrees, but yeah.
Yeah, and this heat wave. It's so funny. Next week I'm gonna be going on vacation to Florida, and I'm sitting there the entire time like, man, this was like, I'm excited to go. Don't get me wrong, but I was kind of like, man, it's gonna be really hot. But at the same time, I think it might be cooler in Florida than it is up here next week. Yeah,
Guarantee it'll be better than this crap.
Yeah, it's been super. It's been soupy. Speaking of soupy, let's talk about the Cardinals, guys. Don't take any pleasure out of it, but it is what it is at this point. So quick update. We
all know it's miserable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone knows, but it is what it is. So just a quick update. They're 56 and 72. So the last session, they were 54 and 67. So that just tells you they went 2-5 in that week span. They're 14 and a half games back in the Central now. 11 games back in the for the last spot of that wild card. What this translates to for the Cardinals, they're last in the Central, 14th in the NL out of 15, and 26 out of 30 for MLB. Obviously, the team's atrocious. We continue to talk about it every time, it gets brought up, but, it is what it is. We do have some new faces here, and some of these guys have actually kind of been like up and down in the season, but they're filling in a lot of those injuries that we have right now. So 5 that I want to talk about specifically is Drew Rom. Drew Rom did make his major league appearance just recently. Mason Wynn finally got the call up. Richie, and then OG might have to help me out here, is the guy that took Spanish out of the three of us. But Richie, is it Palacios, the outfielder?
I'd have to look at it. Where's the accent at?
Well, there's no accent marks on his name. But
so then it should just be, I think it's just Palacios, if I'm not mistaken.
Palacios. Okay, yeah, because there's no accent, so it should be pronounced as the way it's spelled, right?
Yeah, which theoretically, it's the general rule is the second to last vowel is what normally gets the accents. So what you were saying originally would be right, but I don't think it applies to this one. But I could be wrong, but somebody that actually speaks Spanish would have to weigh in on that.
yeah, no kidding. But Palacios, I think we'll just kind of go with that. The next one then is Jacob Barnes, relief pitcher. Then we have Casey Lawrence, also a relief pitcher. So real quick here, what I'm going to do, we're just going to talk about how they're doing. We're going to go through one player at a time, and I'm going to go through some of the statistics, and then I'll get you guys' reaction here. So let's talk about Drew Rom, who made his first appearance against the Pirates. He's 0-1 now in that one appearance. He's got a whopping ERA of 14.73. That's because he only pitched 3.2 innings and couldn't get through 4. He struck out 4, but has a whip of 3.27. So for anybody that does not know what whip is, that is a runner on in every inning. So essentially that's equating to 3.25 runners on per inning. He gave up 8 hits and 8 runs in that 3.2 innings. And just a little note, Rom was one of the pitchers that was traded in the Flaherty trade. A lot of people sell him as the heir apparent to Flaherty. Not a great start here, but was there anything else that we kind of saw out of this, that looks positive? Adam, I'm going to start with you here. What's your thoughts on the Drew Rom experiment so far?
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, I'm not a Rom hater yet or anything, but I'm also not, a huge fan of his yet either. So, obviously, I think we're going to have to see a little bit more from him. I think of all the prospects that, coming in, I would rank him near the bottom for sure of the guys that we have coming up, or the new faces we have coming in for sure. But yeah, I think we're gonna just have to continue to see him. I mean, the dude's like 23, and it's only one outing. So let's just see if it was to shake up the nerves or whatever, and see if he can get into the swing of things. Especially coming in mid-season and whatnot for him. It'll be interesting to see if maybe we can just work with him a little bit and shake those nerves a bit and give him another chance for sure.
Yeah, OJ, what's your take on this? As the guy that looks at it probably a little bit more positively than what Adam and I have been all season long. What's your thought process here on Rom so far? I mean, yes, is the one appearance, but didn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, that's his first MLB appearance, so yeah, not great, but he's only 23-year-old pitcher, so he's pretty far away from his prime. I think people say usually it's like 28 is kind of when pitchers seem to come into their prime. But anyway, so the point is he's very young, first MLB appearance, pretty bad. For sure, terrible. As a prospect, the big knock on him, from what I see on Fangraphs at least, is his fastball, which they say tops out as a 30 grade fastball. So terrible fastball. But according to them,
and so real quick, OJ,
at least 50 on every other category. So slider, splitter, and command are all above average. So it doesn't mean there's nothing workable there. But yeah, go ahead with what you're gonna.
So I just wanted so our listeners to understand it a little bit more too. When you're talking about his fastball specifically, because I read something about that as well. So you said it was a 30 grade. Like, how does that
30.
work to your knowledge?
So it's on the 2080 scale. So like what it is halfway between there was like 50 is average. And then every 10 above or below that is a standard deviation away from the average. So a 30 grade is 2 standard deviations worse than the average fastball. So it's a terrible fastball. Probably
I got you.
Barely major league caliber. So but then, like I was saying, he's got at least, they give him a 55 slider, 50 splitter, and 55 command as feature values for the other categories. So while his fastball is god awful, like there's something there where that you can see how he could find a way to making it work. I mean, he's obviously made it to the majors now, so he's made it work enough. But to be more, I guess, specific, you'd say, is that he's actually had a pretty good year in AAA this year, too, if you're looking for positives. With Baltimore, he had a 5.34 ERA in AAA this season, but that's like, I want to say that's about average for.
Yeah, it's on average about 5.26 ERA. But if you looking at the total in his seasons, he has about a 4.82 overall. Yeah. So he's actually a litlittle above, as far, or I should say below league average or whatever, 5.26. So
yeah.
So, now I was going to say, it looks like his walks will look a little high, in my opinion. From what I'm seeing here, he's on average like 4.8. Well, they're going to say with this past year with Baltimore, like 4.81 or sorry, like 4.8. So it's actually, it's around a hair better than the league average there too. But yeah.
Yeah. And as I look at this, I guess I should say I just saw something that made me like you said, his walk's probably too high. He generally seems to have at least a healthy strikeout rate, but the walk rate's too high to it kind of offsets it a little too much at times. So, I mean, he has he's had like an incredible 2 games in St. Louis's AAA system since we acquired him, but then he had that absolute blow up in the majors. So what does that really count for? But yeah, he definitely seems like I don't think that he'll be able to strike people out. And, he won't be a good enough strikeout pitcher, let's say, if you're trying to add one of those. He's not really going to fit the bill. And maybe he could be like a crafty kind of 5th starter that'll, maybe win every other game or he'll get blown out every other game, but give you a good chance to win every other game too, like maybe like a useful kind of guy. or
like the veteran
reliever.
at Major League, like we talked about last week. He's got the jalapeno stuff in his nose and he's got Vaseline in his arm. Yeah, he's gonna be that crappy, guy.
Yeah, and probably more than likely though he probably winds up in the bullpen in a low leverage role.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, his fastball is a 91 mile an hour fastball. So
with no
it's not going to blow.
movement, too. That was the other thing that I read about it.
It does not have much ride on it.
Yeah.
I did read somebody say it. Somebody that was analyzing it say that it kind of has a little bit of a cut to it, but I don't think it's a whole lot either there. So,
but it's not like Randy Johnson, for example. I mean, obviously Randy Johnson threw the ball so damn hard, but towards the beginning of his outing, you can tell Randy Johnson, like, if he was going to have a really good night or if he was going to have an okay night because of how the movement on that fastball was going. Because when he got tired towards the end of the game, his fastball was just still, and now he's still throwing heat. I mean, he's still throwing 103, 104, even to like the 7th inning, right? But it was more flatlined, and here that's the thing that made, Manuel Rivera so feared. Wasn't even that the fastball was so fast or anything like that. He was just so damn accurate, and the movement he could have with his cutter was just ridiculous. And that's where, going to your point, OJ, I didn't see any. I didn't watch the game, so I watched like clips of him pitching and stuff like that, of that game, and I didn't see anything that really stood out to me that was like, okay, that's impressive or something to work on. He seemed to have an okay breaking ball. To your point, OJ, apparently in the futures, that's where they have him at as well. But that fastball would just, I mean, it really betrayed him. A, he didn't have control of it, but B, it was very flat.
Yeah. Like he definitely needs to command all of his pitches to have any kind of success in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, to that point, so I really want to point on that real quick to the listeners that may or may not know, especially for AAA, AA, and minor leagues. We were talking about that ERA, the 5.26 on being average. That seems very, very high, right? But there's two things. One, MLB itself, the average, I think, is like 3.8 or something like that for major league pitchers. That's because offenses, obviously, they put a premium on offense. Two, when you're in the AAA, they will typically keep you into situations that they wouldn't keep you in the MLB to see how you handle that to give you more experience. So that is partially one of the reasons why you have such an inflated ERA. Also, you're working on different pitches because it's not necessarily like, okay, obviously you want to win the game, you want to be competitive and let your statistics show, but you're also there to learn and to train for the show eventually, just to kind of put that in perspective. Because 5.26 on average for AAA seems very high, but honestly, anybody that's lower than that is already up in the major leagues anyways. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really just more of a product of this year's offensive environment in AAA being insane, and in the international league specifically, it's even more so than some of the other, like the Florida Coast League and all that.
Right, that's a good point too. Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what the one is that. But anyway, the point is that the run environment for the Cardinals for Memphis isn't as bad even as that league. Like, it's just crazy. But then if you look at his like FIP and XFIP and stuff, those are actually better than average in that league. So that's what I meant. Like, he's having kind of a solid year in AAA, but it's just tough to see how he's going to make it all play in the majors. Like, he really needs to become just an artist with his pitches. And if he does that, then he can have himself a nice little career. But otherwise, he's just, if he can't locate things other than his fastball is going to get destroyed. So
yeah. Well, let's move on here to the second one, to Masyn Winn. This was the big conversation that we had. It was super funny. After last week, we talked about Masyn Winn coming up and pretty much like made our case for it. And I guess Mo was listening because literally 30 minutes after we completed the session 33, the message hit on ESPN that Masyn Winn was getting called up. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I'm like, wow, that is
sure. That was cool.
Yeah. So Masyn Winn has been up. He has played in 6 games at the shortstop position. He's got 23 total at bats, 5 hits, 1 double in those 5 hits, 1 RBI, 6 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. He's hitting an average of 217 On base, also 217, which means obviously he's not walking, and a slug of 261. His defensive numbers look pretty good so far. Well, they're okay. They're not like fantastic or whatever. He's got 1,000 fielding positions, 12 assists. He's got 0 putouts, which is kind of expected from a shortstop. He was a part of 2 double plays. His WAR is a negative 0.1, which is kind of somewhat average, and it's right there, right? What's our thoughts on Mason Wynn so far? OJ, I want to start with you on this one.
Well, I mean, so first of all, I'll say you can't really look at WAR with like how many games.
I know, with 6 games. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's that's why I didn't mean to sound like that. I'm just trying to get the statistics because like I don't think he's played terrible, but it's not like he's doing Arenado things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's see. So, yeah, he hasn't been hitting very well, like really much at all in the majors yet. But you could argue that's probably some pressing and all that because at least in AAA, now, again, AAA, remember, they have super inflated offensive numbers. But even by WRC Plus, which is adjusted for the league, he was still like 7% better than average and that's including like a very dismal first couple months in AAA, which is another good point. Yeah, he also started out very slow in AAA, but then like the last couple months he's been absolutely on fire there. Like, I mean, I want to say July he had like a 173 WRC plus or something like that. Like literally, and it went down a little bit in August, but it was still like well above average for that league, which is like crazy for a 21-year-old in AAA. Like, but anyway, so I think there's going to be a little bit of an acclimation period, and that's what he's going through right now. But he's showing all the signs of being an absolute stud to me. So
I think that goes back to what we talked about last session, that it was important to have these games that are low pressure situations. So when he is not doing well, hitting right, like obviously batting 217 is not where he wants to be. It's not where we want him to be either, obviously, but there's no pressure because it's not like anything's really on the line. Right. So I do believe that, it's important for his growth. And as you said, OJ, he definitely, people tend to forget that he started this year at AAA, but he was in AA, if I remember correctly, the year prior. Started in AAA, was also pretty slow. He had a good training camp, right? And he had some good spring games with us and stuff, but never really made like eye-popping numbers or anything like that. Obviously, got to the AAA level, struggled a little bit, but hopefully maybe that's what will happen here in the major leagues. Adam, what's your thought process here so far watching?
I agree. Win? Watching him, obviously, I'm excited that he's he's finally here, and obviously be looking forward. He's here for the future for sure, and obviously, to your point, using this opportunity to get him comfortable, in the majors. I think this is going to take a little more time, dealing with major league, pitching and whatnot. But I think just keep putting him in game after game, and I think that he'll start performing. It's just going to take a little time, but I feel that obviously the way he's performing in Memphis, he's shown that he's very talented. So I expect that with a little time and spending some time here in the majors, especially getting some play time for him, is going to be beneficial for him, and he'll come around.
I think so as well. It's obviously is an important piece to our future. And I think that right now there's really not any pressure for him to try to go up there and transcend what he's than just getting on base.
Exactly.
Hopefully, again, the back can come around a little bit, before the end of the year, give us a little bit more hype, because I do believe he's going to be starting at shortstop next year. But it's going to be interesting to see how they end up working that. Maybe Tommy Edman becomes an outfielder and you put Donovan at second base. I don't know. But that's something that we, definitely talk about towards the end of the year as everything kind of progresses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Looking at the third one here, Richie oh my gosh. Palacios. I don't know why we were saying
Palacios.
Palacios. Jeez, I don't know why.
Palacios.
Okay. It's just like I wrote it differently here. Like, I guess whatever. Anyway, Palacios. He's actually doing a little bit better than Mason Wynn at this point.
I was looking forward to him for sure.
Yeah. He's played in 7 games, 18 at-bats, so less at-bats than the Mason Wynn would comparatively with 23. That being said, he also does have 2 walks, so really 20 plate appearances. He's got 7 hits, 2 doubles, 1 home run, 1 run, 6 RBIs in the short time he's been here. He has struck out twice, but his average is 389, on base percentage is 310, and a slugging of 667, which is pretty impressive so far. And defensively, he hasn't looked terrible either. I think he's actually done pretty well. OJ, what's your thought process so far on Richie Rich over here?
Well, to me, he seems pretty intriguing because I had no idea who he was. But yeah, I mean, then he's got the sports goggles. Next thing you know, he's just making plays all over the field, like, robbing home runs, driving in runs. Like,
right.
It's like, holy crap, we got a guy that maybe could be something. Because then, when I saw that they had him in center field, I was like, oh, he can play center field now. Okay, well, that changes a lot because, he's been hitting for average pretty well. He generally has run a pretty good on base percentage in the minors. Like, he doesn't hit for a lot of power, but he can get on base and hit for average, which, again, hitting for average is important because you need to drive in runs sometimes. Everybody can't just be a walk machine. So
yeah, I'll take everybody hitting 350. Everybody hitting 350 with no home runs. Yeah, I'll take that in a heartbeat. Especially that's the Cardinals way. And to me, that's sometimes
that is
more
the Cardinals way. That was Whitey ball. That's
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's good to have a balanced lineup with all that can score in all kinds of different ways because.
But we have the Natos and we have the Goldies that can kind of do that portion as well. But it's nice to have these guys that are well balanced.
I just would like to have like a high average guy to put in like the 6-7 hole where you can maybe try and clean up on some of those occasions when your top of the lineup doesn't get on, but like your number 3 hitter does, something like that. So anyway, the point is he's played very well. He has like a solid minor league track record from what I can see. So if he plays good defense in center field, if he really does, then he might be the guy we want in center field going forward. Because if not, I don't know we have a true center fielder on our roster since we got rid of Bader.
Yeah.
And obviously we have Dorman and Newbar potentially coming back, but obviously it'll be nice to get a rotation again as well,
Yeah, and to that point, Adam, that's a good point, but I don't believe that either one of those two are true center fielders, as OJ's point. I think that when we traded Bader, we expected Bro Neal to be able to step into that role, which, let's be honest, he should have been able to. I mean, he's got a lot of speed, but he definitely feels like he's better suited for left field, which is just kind of interesting. But he just seems to be more comfortable there. I guess
that's where he spent all his time so far, really. I mean,
yeah,
he probably is way more comfortable making reads out there and everything. So I understand that. Yeah. That's what that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, none of them all really fit the bill unless, maybe Tommy Edman could, if he could, because he looked the most like Bader out there to me, where he almost got to a ball this season in center field that I don't think Nootbaar, Carlson, or Neal get close to. And it was like a Bader kind of play. And I'm starting to think if he actually puts a lot of time into it in the offseason, maybe he could take over in center field also. I don't know. But I really, really like having a super speedy, like got all the instincts and everything kind of center fielder like Harrison Bader was for us. I love having that so much. Like, it feels so good having those guys out there. They're fun to watch. And that you're not gonna give up a lot of cheap hits to the outfield, So I kind of want to get that back.
And let's be honest, we as Cardinals fans grew up with Jim Emmons, and we became spoiled because Jim Emmons was just a highlight reel. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All the time. But we got used always to that, just like we got used to Yadier Molina. And let's be honest here too. Third base has been very special for the Cardinals for a very long time. Yes, we had the David Freese era, but David Freese didn't have like the defensive skill set that Scott Rowland before him had, or obviously
Hell
Arenado,
no.
which came, after him. But to be said, you can't, like, David Freese's name is going to live in legend in St. Louis history for what he did in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, like, you still have that, so it's just kind of interesting.
Definitely, like, passable over there too. I don't remember him being particularly bad. I mean, I know he had that drop in Game 6 also before he came back and saved the day, but
yeah, he did. He definitely did. But that's what I'm saying, OJ. Like, he wasn't terrible, you know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, like, he's still a big name because of what he did in the playoffs and the heroics that went around that. But you just go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna say, we're used to having Gold Glovers, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're spoiled with that.
Not to say that David Freese was a Gold Glover.
No, but just in general, we as Cardinals, fans, we're used to having Gold Gloves, all over the field.
We're used to competence. We're used to competence all over the field. Like, there's a minimum level of defense required to get on that field. That's why I don't like the DH, but that aside, the other guys, at least in this game, like, there is like a minimum level of competence you need to even earn the right to go hit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think maybe the Cardinals eschewed that a little bit this year. That's it certainly helped amplify some of their problems with pitching. So
yeah, and Adam, you bring up a great point. Like, I'm just going to use this as an example, right? So Gold Glove, right, in 2004 for the catching position was won by Mike Matheny. In 2006, it was won by Yadier Molina.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously, it's so weird that Yadier Molina overshadowed what Mike Matheny did to me.
Of course.
And just in my opinion, what he did defensively and offensively, because Yadier was just so different. But Mike Matheny was phenomenal behind the plate too. So it's just kind of funny, like, again, as you said, we're so used to it at this point. Maybe you are a little selfish.
Well, it's just that we are up until this season. Well, I should say not this season. There's been the past, couple seasons for sure, but this season has certainly highlighted it more than most for sure. That we're lacking in that department. So we have we definitely have, some gaps, and it's also frustrating too, not to go off on this tangent, but, we see a lot of the great pitchers that we had as well, and they're out on all these other teams and they're doing great things, and here we are struggling. So it's frustrating, when you see these guys and they're out, on all these other teams, and you see them, they're really succeeding, and here you are struggling. You're like, damn it, if only we had that back. But yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we'll get there eventually. It's not like this is going to last forever. And obviously we're looking towards our future. So,
Yeah.
So what's your thought process, Adam?
They had some. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. I don't need to add on to that. That was long.
I was just, Adam, I was just going to ask you, what's your thought process on Palacios as well?
Yeah, Palacios, I was really excited about him, coming in, honestly, looking at his stats, we were talking about him before, and, he just seems like an all around great addition for us. Not only is he offensively doing really well. I mean, on Wednesday, he went 3 for 4. He had a double, a walk, 2 RBIs. And we actually won that game, So it's actually nice to see that we have another hot bat in the lineup, but that could also, back it up with his defense in center field as well. So that's a great addition for us, no doubt. So to not only add a hot bat, but also someone that backs it up with, great defensive play. So you can't ask for much more than that right now.
Yeah. He's got his hat in the ring for it.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, no doubt.
Let's get to the fourth one here. And there's really not much to talk about this guy, but Jacob Barnes, he's made one appearance. He's pitched 0.2 innings. So he's gotten the 2 outs. And all zeros across the board. Didn't give him a hit. Obviously, his ERA 0, but didn't strike anybody out, didn't walk anybody or anything. Quick note about Mr. Barnes here, excuse me. He's a journeyman that has been with 8 different teams in 11 years. That's quite ridiculous. But at this point, we're really not I mean, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to getting pitching, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
there's really not, like, for me specifically, there's nothing that jumped out to me. Just like he pitched well, but he only pitched for 2 outs. You know what I mean? And didn't do
Yeah.
anything spectacular in that. So, unless either one of you guys want to make a statement around Barnes, I'm good with moving on.
Yeah, I was going to say just real quick, while he was in Memphis, he, for the little short period of time he was pitching, he pitched for about 17 and 2/3 innings pitched, and he posted a 1.53 ERA with 16 strikeouts. So while it was a very, short little stint that he was pitching per se, it was spread over 11 games. He performed well. So it'll be interesting to see, if he just gets more time on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't really, make an assessment other than, what little bit we've seen so far, which is very, very little so far. But, overall, for the Cardinals, that little stint has been successful. So hopefully he'll keep it up and we'll keep giving him a shot.
Yeah, that's my hope for him, is that he can, continue to show that he's, got the game here. Because I think he played like in last year, and I think it was for the Yankees. He only pitched 1 game in the major leagues, and pretty much had similar results. So, hopefully he can, have that, or at least help us along the way. Maybe even, become a late inning guy, because God knows we're gonna need it now. Since we've lost a lot of those guys either due to injury or to trades and stuff. OJ, anything you want to say about Barnes specifically?
Yeah, I was just looking over his career numbers, and I want to, like, he's kind of strange. So, like, basically, he was actually pretty good. He came up with Milwaukee in 2016, and he had great numbers until 2019 when they dealt him, and then from there on out, he's just been like crap, just shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what exactly happened, like if there was some injury that they knew something about, other people didn't, or what. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm just saying that at one point there's a good pitcher in there. So maybe there's
I agree.
secret to unlocking him, or I don't know.
Yeah, because he split times between the Mariners, if I remember correctly. Or no. Nope, that was so he had that the 3 years with Milwaukee and was decent for Milwaukee. And as you said, once he got that, all of a sudden, like, his games pitched dramatically dropped, as well as his his numbers increased up as well. So maybe something happened. Who knows, right? Maybe he can get back in the swing of things, being part of the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason they probably got him is just to eat some innings, I guess, this year. I don't know.
For sure.
I don't know why they're pitching him, because, if we're looking forward to next year, we should maybe try and get another young pitcher up. But
I agree.
Maybe
with
they
that,
don't.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't think any of them are ready. They don't want any of them having to even be involved with this season at all. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's talk about the last guy I have on this list here, and that's Casey Lawrence. Casey Lawrence has pitched in 2 games, ERA of 5.0, whip of 1.67. That's in 9 innings that he has pitched total. 9 Ks, 3 walks. He's given up 12 hits and 5 runs in that time. OJ, anything about Casey Lawrence's game that kind of speaks out to you at all?
No.
Yeah.
Jesus, his Fangraphs page is long. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's the 35-year-old I remember. So yeah, he's been in the minor league. He's basically been a career quadruple
minor
player.
Yeah.
Like,
that was the one we were not thrilled about. Yeah, if you remember.
Yeah,
we were
that's
talking about
who
that
I was
last week.
trying to think of. Yeah,
that was
so,
the one.
like,
Yep.
Yeah, this is you're throwing a bone to a guy that spent his entire life, just toiling away, coming up sometimes, getting sent back down after a few games. So throw him a bone, let him ride off in the sunset, I guess. But
his major league career, which is he's gone 3 for 4, 6.80 ERA in 44 games, and 2 of those were starts. So
yeah. It's not great. It's not great.
Yeah. And last year he spent 6 games in Toronto, and he went 0-1 with a 7.50 ERA.
God, he's had some.
All in relief as well.
He's had some good seasons in AAA. I mean,
yeah, but he's not going to make it in the majors.
God,
I mean, the dude's 35. Yeah,
but like,
just
God, it's the weirdest thing. Like, his career is really interesting. If you just look at the levels next to his name on the Fangraphs chart, like, because he goes from like he keeps going up level and down level. Like, he's just been bounced around so much. Like, he had one season in 2013 where he high A, double A, triple A. Next year he's in double A again. Like, it's like, what the fuck? He finally gets there, and then he starts just going back and forth between AAA and MLB, and then 1 year in AA again for some reason.
So that tells us right there he's not going to be consistent, and don't expect much. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you that he's, always showed something to get himself promoted too.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy though. That's the life of a minor leaguer right there.
Agreed. Well, guys, let's take a look a little forward here. What's the goals for the rest of the season? Like for me, like there's only 3 goals that I kind of like had. So I guess I'll just ask the question and we can just have a general conversation around it. But like maybe we should just shut down any of the injured players if we believe that, they're going to need like longer rest and stuff like that. Obviously, there's not that many games left in this season, it feels like, at this point. Let me do the quick math here. Give me 1 second. I should have been more prepared. Yeah, there's only 34 games left in the season. So, I mean, do we what's your guys' thought process here of just like shutting down injured players like Brendan Donovan? Obviously Helsley is going to be gone for the rest of the season. Stuff like what's your thought process and just shutting these guys down, letting them get a rest and look.
They need to get rest and then bring in some of these younger guys, bring in some of our prospects, give them that time like we were talking about last week. I mean, we have nothing else to lose at this point. So let's look at our future and, for me, it's like using this time almost like spring training, give guys the opportunity to come in and just try it out, just see how they're doing. Because literally we're not going anywhere anyway. So fuck it, we're planning for the future. So that's what our priority should be is getting these guys ready, taking this opportunity, getting these guys ready, so that way next season we can hopefully next season we can kind of rebound a little bit from where we are this year for sure. But yes, so let's get those guys rested that need the rest, because there's no reason to aggravate injuries that don't need to be aggravated, because we're not fighting for our championship here. So
remember that. OJ, what's your thought process there?
Well, so I obviously want them to always try to win every game, but
sure.
Obviously in a season like this, I don't have any problem with them placing more emphasis on the health of their players. Because, every professional sport, every season, you have to make some compromises on health in order to keep guys in the game all season long.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just really a question of what can they deal with and that kind of stuff, really, more than anything. So this actually is kind of a really nice opportunity to give them some chance to really rest for an extended period of time that they wouldn't have normally gotten, and come back next year stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So I don't
get a jump start on the off season when it comes to weightlifting or whatever too. So like if they're good to go or whatever, I'm just saying, to get your body in shape kind of thing, and whatever you want to do in that aspect of things. But it does feel like it's time to hear Captain Price's voice from Modern Warfare of, mission failed, we'll get him next time. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it feels like at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, that's what we should be focused on, like I said, is the future at this point. So there's no reason to pretend and that we're going anywhere this season. So that ship has already sailed, and I think everybody is aware of that. So let's focus on the future. Like you said, that's the main thing right now. That should be our goal. Focus on the future, getting healthy, getting better, so we can come out there next year to be better for sure.
Yep.
Let me ask you guys here too. Should they have any goals for like, hey, we want to end up like, okay, we have 32 games left of the season, right? Do we, or 34, sorry. Do we have like a certain win percentage, or do we want to have like, hey, we know we're not going to win the Central, right? But let's try to shoot for fourth, or let's try to get to third. Do you think they should have that kind of mindset, or do you think that kind of like puts more pressures on the rookies, makes everybody feel bad because like, oh great, our major goal now at this point in the season is to not finish last, or should have just let it ride? OJ, what's your thought process on that?
I mean, I think you need to do whatever you can to instill some kind of competitive spirit in the clubhouse, because it's really easy. The players see what's going on too. The front office has made it obvious, so the players see it too. So now they're not going to be as motivated, and it's hard to it's not always easy to just turn it back on again once you've turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can also just set a bad precedent for the rookies. Also, the ones that are up now, they should understand that you're held to a certain standard, and you have to meet that standard at a minimum. This is what we consider acceptable. But, if you just start getting all lackadaisical, like, oh, nothing matters anymore this season, well, then that can seep into the way they prepare for next season, So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, they should still be striving to win. I mean, just like every game, even in spring training, they should still be trying to win. It's just the fact is with this opportunity, we don't have to make those decisions about, benching some players that that are prospects or whatever. We can give them that opportunity to go out there, but we should see them still hustle. We should still see them trying to win, because ultimately I would treat it just like spring training, in the sense of this is just a really early spring training. You're trying to make the cut for next season. You know what I mean? You just got an extended spring training period where you're going to go out there, show us everything you got. I put it out on the field, and give our other guys that need a rest, give them that rest. But at the same time, you're still trying out to make sure that, you got a spot for next season,
Yeah.
Yeah. And go on, OJ.
Well, to me, they need to keep approaching each game as if it's a battle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they should treat it truly as a spring training type scenario, unless it's as like roster construction and stuff. But as far as how they actually manage the way they play and stuff, I think they should treat every game like they need to fight to the nail to win it, because that's the way you win championships. You have to have that sort of competitiveness in your game, and it's just too easy to let that kind of mentality slip. So, and I think they did this year. So,
and OJ, I completely agree, because look at the Blues, right? I feel that you let these rookies kind of, and I'm speaking more around like the younger players in the team that are now in leadership roles, Kyrou, Thomas, and stuff like that. They were on the coattails of Pietrangelo, of Steen, of Bouwmeester. These guys that are real workhorses, know how to put the work and effort in. All of a sudden, a lot of these guys leave unceremoniously for some, and you're like, well, okay, well, we're used to this. We've had success at this level, but I don't need to take it to the next level. So then, those guys that are now your new leadership group don't bring it to that next level. So the people below them don't bring it to the next level, right? They bring it to the level of their top guys. And I feel that really hurt the Blues this year, especially towards the end of the season, obviously, when we knew that we weren't going anywhere. But I felt that it hurt. To me, it hurt Roar, it hurt Tarasenko, it hurt everybody, because they just kind of were like, well, great, this group isn't giving me anything, so why would I give them anything? You know what I mean?
That's the only reason why the ice was, Benny, and it actually showed some compassion or some anger, where everybody else was just checked out.
Frustration.
Yeah, frustration where everybody else was checked out. Yeah.
So
I do think it's important. And go ahead.
No, go. I was just gonna say what you're about to say, so you say it.
Yeah, so I think it is important for them to say, listen, I think that in these next 34 games, let's just try to 500 ball. Yeah, we're gonna finish under 500, on the season or whatever. But if we can go 17-17, that's better than what we've done all season long, collectively. Yeah. So maybe you push it and say, you know what, we want to go 20-14. Let's try to have a winning record or whatever it looks like. It doesn't matter. But I do believe there needs to be some sort of goals that are set for this stuff because we just can't keep losing games to the Pirates. You know what I mean? Like it just, yeah.
No, I honestly actually think it's a good time for them to drop the standings like the Blues did and just focus on each individual game. Don't worry about the standings. We're not even going to worry about a longer term season goal. We're just going to go out each game trying to win that game. You know what I mean? Doing everything we can to win that game and don't worry about the rest of it. Because that's the mindset you need to be in if you want to win a lot of games. But maybe start working on that now. You know, like that's what I mean, fighting tooth and nail. Like each game, I would like them to treat it as life or death in the clubhouse. I mean, obviously, you're gonna take Steven Matz and let him chill till next season now. But you know, other than that, like they should be fighting as hard as they can to win every game.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing, especially now with the 34 games left and, you know, bringing some rookies up. But let's talk about a team that is fighting tooth and nail every single game that I'm very impressed with, and that is STLSC. City is doing pretty well. Quick update. So we've only had one game, obviously, since the last time we talked about this team, but they're 14-2-8 with 44 points. They're still first in the West. They're 14 points over the last play-in spot, which is essentially 5 games and 10 games. Excuse me, there's only 10 games remaining in the season, so they look very good about making the playoffs overall. They're 13 points ahead of the last non-play-in spot, which is about 4.5 games. So the way again it breaks down is there are 4 games, which would put them at 12 points, and then that half game is always equated for 1 tie out of those 3. So that's kind of where the 4.5 games happens. And then I got a couple more things I want to talk about that are kind of interesting to me. So we're 9 points ahead of 5th place, which would be if we finish in 4th place, we will obviously be guaranteed a home playoff game, right? So 9 points over that 5th place spot, which is a full 3 games right now with those 10 games remaining. We are 4 points over 2nd place, which is LAFC right now. That's 1.5 games back, so we just got to keep winning. However, we are 7 points behind Cincinnati for the Supporter Shield. And for anybody that doesn't know what the Supporter Shield is, that's the top regular season team in MLS. And that's 2.5 games behind. It looked like Cincinnati was just going to run away with it, but they have not looked very good lately. They've actually lost, I think, their last 2 games in MLS. They got dominated by Columbus, either 3-0 or 4-0.
But you know, Columbus is like getting real. They're getting real hot though too. Like they're starting to look like a real good team. So
I did have a question for you.
They lost to a good team in Columbus, that's for sure.
For sure, Adam, go ahead, bud.
I was going to say, so, and speaking of which, because we obviously know, you know, the curse of the President's Trophy with with hockey. Is there any sort of stigma? No stigma here.
Last year, the Supporter Shield went to LAFC, and LAFC won the tournament as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just know sometimes being in first, you know, we've seen that's in other sports from time to time, you know, going in, you know, on the top of, most games or most points, you know, over everyone else. Sometimes you have a disadvantage sometimes. So I was just curious. And from an MLS perspective, I wasn't sure.
So here's an actual interesting fact that kind of goes around to that, right? So if you look at the President's Trophy in that curse, quote unquote curse, right? Because obviously there's been teams that, you know, won the President's Trophy that, you know, won it all, like Chicago did not terribly too long ago. But the interesting thing about that is the reason why I believe that the President's Trophy is like the curse is that those ace spot teams had to fight for the last month and a half when the President's Trophy knew that they were going to go in. Right now, why does that matter? Because it's a 7-game series. It's not just one and done. And I think that's the reason why you don't see that issue at all for like NFL, a little bit with NBA, although NBA feels like it's kind of a crapshoot, like in general. But like for any of the others, it doesn't really happen that much because it's most of the time it's a playoff game. It's literally a one and done. Situation. You're not playing a massive series against it. You know what I mean? So, but when you take a look at it in the first 2 games, if you just look at them isolated, the first 2 games, most of the time, the President's Trophy teams dominate those. They're either 2-0 or 1-1 at the series, those 2 games pictures. They always seem to do pretty well at the very beginning, and then obviously you have your exceptions where they get swept or whatever have you. But typically they look pretty decent at the beginning of that. It's just when the things get really amped up by that 8th place team, because now they're continuing to fight for their lives. The big dog can't is so used to feeding that they're just not used to have those junkyard bulldog instincts. You know what I
mean? Yeah. Interesting.
Just an introspective.
Yeah, I was just curious, because since we were on the topic of, overall, best performance in both conferences or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. So let's take a look real quick about the Austin game, which was the game that happened on Saturday. I know that we all watched it, or at least watched parts of it. Just quick recap here. Goals from Tim Parker, Gionacci got 2 goals, and then
Gioacchini.
What did I say? Oh my God, dude. So Gionacci is actually Gionacci is a hockey player. Then you got me thinking of that. Gionacci was a Finland player or whatever, if I remember correctly. It's spelled completely different, but I think that's where that came from. Sorry.
That's all right.
2 goals from Adrian. Hard. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a global sport, so it's not like you get used to like NHL. Everyone's like, there are some really weird names in NHL, like Taze. It's spelled like Toes.
Because you get Eastern Europeans coming over, and you're like, okay.
I was gonna say I work with a bunch of Eastern Europeans, and I butcher their names every, all people's time, new names all the time, and they always correct me, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant.
Like one of our coworkers' name is spelled Maria, right? So Maria, but it's not. That's how you say it in Serbian. It's Maria.
Marija, yeah, Marija.
Yeah, exactly.
Marija, yeah, Maria. Yeah,
Maria. So like it's just interesting how like different inflection or like there's as kind of what you brought up earlier, OJ, when we're talking about Palacios, was like the accent marks or really like the different what's the word I'm looking for, like inflections on the word, you know what I mean, or emphasis on specific like parts of the word. So it's interesting. But Ostrek also got a goal too. I am little irritated that Gio like passed up a hat trick. I mean, he was in the box, easily could have gone to goal, but he decided to pass it off there. I was a little upset.
That would have been that would have been like the top play of the week if he scored there, because he made that defender just go sliding all the way past him when
broke
he pulled
his
up
ankles.
with the ball. That would have been like he posterized that dude.
He did. Like, he MLS posterized. I mean, it broke his ankles, dude. It was a very good look. So, anyways, those are the goals we got. We won. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but with that though, that put Gioacchini up to first STLSC player to actually hit 10 goals. So that's quite a milestone.
Now at double digits. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
He had a hell of a game.
He did. He really did. I think his grade was 9.2, which I'm like 9.2. I think like he made some mistakes, so I don't think he definitely deserved a 10. He didn't have like an offensive juggernaut performance like 4 goals that's just going to immediately get you a 10. But I thought he was at least a 9.7, 9.8 on the ranking. But whatever. Anyways, speaking of really good rankings, another one that got 9.6 in this game was Berkey, which is just freaking ridiculous. I know I reached out to both of you guys. I'm like, this guy's inhuman. Like he's like a freaking cyborg up there. Berkey just stands on his head like Martin Brodeur. It is crazy. Up close, the game is still 2-1 or whatever at the point, and you have this goal, like this ball in a free release comes over, and it's point blank shot. No way he's saving this ball and gets his hand on it and deflects it over the bar. Like, are you kidding me? Like several times he was composed. He was able to make the saves. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like Berkey, to me, he's got to be up there for one of the contenders for the MVP. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll win it because there's a lot of goal scoring that happens. And unfortunately, if Lionel Messi continues to do really well, I guarantee you he'll win the fucking MVP, even though I don't believe he deserves it. And what I mean by that, obviously, he's been phenomenal since he's come over the MLS.
I mean, but it would be like it would take like Inter Miami from like literal cellar dwellers to like winning the championship or playoffs even is like insane, and it's literally just because they added him. If that happens.
So here's the funny thing, though, OJ. This is the craziest thing. So ESPN's power rankings before Messi had them at the very bottom of the league. Now they're 14th.
Yeah.
What? Like they're 14th, and so we have 10 games remaining. You know how many games they need to win to get to the playoffs? This is all, like it's not mathematical, but this is what it's expected. They have to win 8 out of those 10 games with at least 1 point over the 9 or 10.
Wow.
So essentially they have to go 8-1-1 to be able to make the playoffs. That's how fucking far behind they are. But because Lionel Messi is God apparently to everybody in soccer, I get it. The guy's amazing, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like fucking shit that we'll set up like a set piece for, and like, Leuven will make a nice little hit and try and get it into the goal and stuff. Like Messi just scores on those routinely. So like, yeah, he's basically an unstoppable weapon, at least at the level of defense that people tend to play in MLS. MLS kind of tends to leave a lot of space compared to the European leagues, from what I hear. So,
but that's putting all of your, all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak, with him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary too, because what happens,
it's like a titanium basket.
Well, yeah, but what happens if something what happens if if he's injured or whatever, he has to go out, then they're just going to go to shit again. You know what I mean? That's
right.
The point
so
I'm making.
OJ too. Yeah. To Adam's point, the problem is it's not even this year, it's next year. If Messi goes down for an extended period,
what do they do
next year? Inter Miami is going to be the worst team
fucked.
that they have been for the past 3 years. So they really don't, and they're hoping that Messi is going to be able to bring over some of his Argentinian friends.
I'm not hearing that this doesn't mean that he wouldn't deserve the MVP though. That sounds like a pretty good case for him deserving the MVP.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily put him in MVP category if they have a losing season. They don't even make the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
If the only reason they lost was because he was down, I guess it depends how much he contributes to the season before he goes down. Like, if it's in I don't know. Anyway, it's a little off topic.
Yeah, I mean, so I take a look at it, and I look at this comparatively to the NFL, which OJ, we all know that you don't like the NFL, so this might kind of fall on some deaf ears. But, you take a look at the MVP race, like Patrick Mahomes, for example, who won it last year. He was going up against Josh Allen. He was going up against, and I can't remember who else was really up at the top of that list, but Josh Allen.
I was going to say Burrow.
Burrows. That's right. Yeah. So it was going up against Burrows for the most part. Burrows gets injured. Cincinnati loses a couple of those games that he's out of. I think it's actually just one the game that he was out of. But immediately, Burrows was no longer in the conversation for MVP. Because it's not because his team lost, but it's for the fact that he wasn't there the entire time, and that's what at least in NFL weighs pretty heavy if they can finish the season.
Definitely.
Right? Definitely. But for me, and I agree with you on one hand that so say Miami makes a stellar run and they end up getting to the MVP. Okay, you know what? At that point, I believe that Lionel Messi deserves the MVP 100% because they wouldn't be in that situation without Messi. I know that. But if they don't, right? Let's say they split this 10 games, they go 5-5, or maybe even 6-4. I'll give them that. They go 6-4. I don't believe that they deserve it because they have a losing record. And yes, the only reason why you got brought up is exactly, is because you have an 8th grader that's playing soccer against 4th graders. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of feels like. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. The next year he can definitely win it, and he most likely will if he continues scoring at this rapid pace. But
you know what? Another argument for Lionel Messi being the most valuable player in the MLS. And maybe I'll eat my words for this because I don't know, but I would assume if you compare what he's getting paid to what every other player in the league is getting paid, it's probably quite a bit more than them. And
well, yeah, for sure.
Remember, there's all these controversies about Messi won't play on turf. Come on, this dude's
we're gonna have to change everything up just for him.
The same species.
Yeah,
but for me, that doesn't necessarily make them MVP quality to me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take it away from him, but
I just don't think you can't.
I can't take what he did before and translate it into now. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know.
He's only been here for a very short period of the season.
Yeah, and he like instantly turned Inter Miami into a threat, like a legitimate threat to every team in the league now. Like they went far in League's Cup.
But the League's Cup doesn't mean anything though in MLS when it comes to MVP.
I know. I know. I'm just okay. You're right. We shouldn't consider that. My apologies.
Yeah. Because that's what you're fine, man, because that's the difference though between he's done some ridiculous like good things, right? But at the same time, like I mean, what is he actually like here? I'm going to take a look at his actual stats, hopefully minus out what happened in the Cup. Obviously he's played I think 3 games if I remember correctly, 4 games. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he's played in MLS so far.
That's what I'm saying. So MLS.
Yeah, it's not been much. So I know. I'm just saying.
It has no stats for him. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
God.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, they have zero, nothing. Wow, everything's blank.
MLS.
Oh, shit.
I'm telling you right now, though, like the MLS.com is. It's terrible. Like it's so bad, and they wonder why they're so far behind on some of these other big like mainstream things. It's because like your site is just not easy to use. And I don't believe that's true. I'm pretty sure Messi has played an MLS.
Actually, okay. Well, hold on. I'm looking at this article. When did this article come out? This was on the 20th, and it's saying that he hasn't scored anything for the MLS. It's all been in League's Cup.
Okay, so then how much has he played?
Yeah, that's
so he hasn't played an MLS game then.
He can't. Yeah, because he can't have played even
He's only been
one
in the League's
MLS
Cup
game without having scored a goal. Yeah, I guess so. But
so he won't win the MVP yet because he hasn't done shit in the MLS. There we go. Settle that.
My point is, if this season plays out like League's Cup did for Miami, if the rest of the season plays out the same way, then it would be like it'd be just like a complete night and day turnaround just from adding one guy.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, but it's just one of those things. And no, he has not. That's fucking crazy. Nope. I thought he played at least 1 or 2. Nope. They've been League's Cup or they've been the Open Cup as well.
And apparently he is set to start the Open Cup versus Cincy. Apparently, I don't know when that is. That's on
the Open Cup's getting close to being done, so they probably pushed back some regular matches to flex them for those. So
yeah, they have, because of the fact that Miami is baited further in. I think they're have like 2 games in hands on some of their counterparts in the East.
I guess it was yesterday. Yeah, so apparently Messi, unreal assist powers enter Miami into Open Cup. So apparently that was yesterday. I guess he had an assistant there. I don't know, but that was going to the Open Cup.
So we won't see MLS numbers from him for probably a second then.
Yeah, and that's my point. So like again, when it just comes to the MVP for this league specifically, now to the counterpoint that you kind of brought up, OJ, he's got to be the MVP for the name recognition that he's bringing to the MLS. He's bringing in more sponsors, he's bringing more dollars. I mean, everything was sold out and for City, and tickets were going for $700 fucking up in the top. Not great tickets.
Some people made good money off that shit.
Yeah, 100%, because they didn't recognize that he wasn't going to be playing at St. Louis. Next year, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
that's some scamming shit, man. Those people are scammers.
Yep. Well, again, it's just people rushing and not understanding.
Yeah, they hear the hype.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be so mad if that was me. Thank God.
Paying $700 freaking bucks, and I mean,
and then he's not not only was he not on the bench, he wasn't even in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very disappointing to pay $700 for that. It's like, I could have paid that $700 and I could have sat on the field, and had like freaking VIP shit,
Yeah. But
whatever.
I think this all kind of started off with Josh talking about Rowan Berkey.
Yeah, I guess we need to get back to the whole. We need to. Yeah, you're right. We need to get back to the game because I did want to make a couple of points because you actually mentioned it about Leuven as well. In his impact. Or how Messi would just get in there and do it. Where Leuven actually, he was looking to create some opportunities and really help control the game and set up some of his teammates for goals because he got 3 assists during the match.
And should have been 5. Should have been 5.
You're right. Yeah. But I have to say, Leuven has been, very impactful in the midfield for sure for us.
Oh yeah, like Leuven is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was a record-breaking 3 assists in a single game. So for him.
Yeah, for us, yeah.
Yeah, and
for us.
He had a couple balls that he kicked, like good long distance passes that led dudes just perfectly.
Perfect weight.
Oh my god.
Perfect pace, the perfect weight, like perfectly everything. Again, that send pass to Gio that should have been Gio's 3rd goal that he ended up passing in the box was just brilliant.
Yeah.
It was a thing of absolute brilliance. I mean, it was pretty impressive. Actually, Gio's first goal
up to. Well, I was gonna say he got one up to AZL Jackson too, and then the guy just literally just bodied him off the ball. Like he basically had a breakaway, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna knock you over now," and they didn't call a free kick or anything. I was like,
they didn't call anything. I was very surprised. They like that ref. Like you saw it happen like 3 or 4 times for us specifically, where they did like one of those those turns. Like they'll grab the ball, they got their back to the defender, and they send the ball past them and just try to run past them. And the defender literally uses 2 hands to push the player, not like to stop him from getting the ball, but like push him away, so it slows them down. It happened 4 times and they call anything. I'm like, how is that not like impeding his ability to get to the ball? I mean, in hockey, that's what we call interference. So how is that not a foul? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I don't
now
know.
Instead of being able to run a straight line, you have like, I don't know. But I was very like, it's one thing if you're shoulder bumping or like kind of like using an elbow chicken wing in them out. But twice the defender, you could tell he was just frustrated and was on their left. It was their left back. He literally, like, as he turns to his left, and we have a player run up on the right, whether it was Jackson. Jackson got caught twice on that. And Gio, I think, got caught once too. He literally takes both his hands and pushes him as he's continuing to run. So now instead of running a straight line, you kind of have to run like a little hook to be able to catch up to it. It was just like, I didn't like that at all. But, anyways.
Yeah. No, I do agree. It kind of felt like game management, like the NHL a little bit. Because, I believe at the time of the event I was talking about, they were up 3-0 at that point.
They were up 3-0. Correct. Yeah.
So I think that maybe the ref was trying to not. Because, I mean, if they had called a free kick on that, it would have been right outside the box. So that would be like.
Yeah, and if we score, it's 4-0. Like,
really
get more chippy. Yeah, exactly.
So, it reeked of that kind of bullshit from the NHL. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So let me ask you guys some questions here before we get out. Head on out here. Really just 2 of them that I have. Does the 2 late goals cause concern for City? Obviously, they scored, I think, at the 87th minute, and they scored at 90+1. Obviously, we scored as well. We ended the game with a goal.
Yeah, with a goal, yeah. It was an awesome ending, too.
You didn't even talk about Sam Adeniran. Like,
that's a good point.
Too.
Yeah, he painted a pretty picture there at the end.
Oh, my God. That was an insane strike.
The first goal he had, Oh my, he's like facing the opposite corner on the left side, and with his left foot hits far top corner. What?
He stabbed at it too. Like, it was weird. Like his entire momentum was taken up to the right. He just kind of like stabbed at it with his left foot. And he was this perfect bend in the top right corner. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Yeah, and I can't remember their goalie's name, but he's a decent goalie too. But like the key, like he was literally like, what the fuck just happened? Like he's literally in a spot. The ball gets up and he just kind of looks at it. He's like, how did that go in? Like, it was crazy. That was an amazing left foot shot for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But let's get back to the question here. Does the 2 late goals cause concern for City? OJ, I'll start with you here. I mean, do you have concerns that we gave 2 late up, or do you think it was just from fatigue because it was excessively hot out and we kind of already had the game in the bag?
To me, it is kind of concerning because I think our back line can be our biggest weakness at sometimes. Certainly in some games they seem to get, balls kicked over their head and stuff. I mean, I don't know that it was their problem tonight, but I do think that City kind of tends to have issues with being too lax defensively at times because they're pressing, obviously, so it can make it difficult. But I think this last game they got up big early and they kind of relaxed a little bit. Mm-hmm. And also it was super hot out because of the heat index. Like, it's like, yeah, it was like 86 feels like 104. Like, what?
Yeah, those guys were drenched. Everybody was drenched.
Shouldn't it just be raining already?
Yeah, it was miserable. So I can imagine.
They were tired as hell, and so was the other team. That's why there was a lot of sloppy defense. That's why there was 9 goals scored. So I definitely would have liked to see them play cleaner defense after they had the lead. Mm-hmm. But it's not a huge concern for me. It's more of just like a problem they have also kind of showing up.
That's true too. I do believe that again. It definitely felt like that towards the end of the game. Like when you hit like the 80th minute, like it was exhaustion everywhere around. Unless you were a sub, you were just completely exhausted. Like even Leuven like showed like he was still calm and composed, but like there was a couple times where he kicked the ball expecting it to be able to bend around. It just didn't have the same didn't have the same weight to it to be able to send out and stuff like that. So I do believe that some of that has to do just with exhaustion. For sure. But it, I think that that's something that they can just say, okay, we understand like this what's going on, but we have to be able to close games out, right?
Right.
And let's also talk real quick too. What do we like about City's attack in this game? I mean, because we saw that Austin was a team on the rise, and they ran into a juggernaut of STLSC right now. Adam, what did you like about the St. Louis attack in this game?
Yeah, I was going to say those guys came out, with first of all, they came out with a lot of energy and whatnot, but also from a goalkeeping perspective, just some of the most insane saves that I've seen. I know we were kind of chatting about that along the way, so from a defensive perspective, like just blew me away. But it's just everything going right for us again, just. We look for opportunities to score, and they didn't let up until until they started getting fatigued at the very end, and and also the fact is that we have one of the best goalkeepers in the fucking league with hands down. It's just incredible. So that with a combination of both of those things, we're going to continue to win and we're going to continue to dominate.
Yeah, about Berkey. I was gonna say that dude's
he's
like he ought to be in a higher league. Like,
yeah, the dude's nuts. Like,
no, yeah, we didn't
freaking
talk about him at all for the game, but like,
yeah,
he saved their ass in that game because they
literally reminds me of like 2019 in Benny again. just like standing on his head, like some of that shit. You were like,
Berkey
how did he save this shit?
Like superhuman things, absolutely. The fact that we still gave up 3 shows how sloppy our defense was.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Especially towards the end. You know what I mean? Like the penalty, that's going to be really hard for a keeper to stop.
Oh, yeah.
But the last 2 goals, right, that we gave up at 87 and 90 plus 1. Those 2 goals, I mean, he was yelling at his defense because he knew it was on his defense. Again, fatigued, they're tired. But, you go from, okay, I was 1 PK away from a clean sheet to, okay, we gave up 3 goals now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But there is more hope too, because in the second half, they did put in some subs, guys that haven't been with the organization that long. So like Joachim Nilsson, they played him. He only played like maybe a couple 2-3 games with City SC or City 2, and then other than that, he's been hurt the whole season. So like he's still working back into form altogether, and actually they all are. So those guys are working into it. So you can understand why there might be less team cohesion when you put those guys out there.
Yeah, communication breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's actually goes into my last question here too. You know, what does this team look like when they're fully healthy? When you have Nielsen that's got his feet, fully wet and he's in the pool now at this point. When Klaus comes back, I mean, this team just looks unreal right now. And I think that you got to be able to. Gio and Klaus both need to be, I think, in the attack, but at the same time, like you might be able to, take Klaus off the bench because he's just a big body and does things differently. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden now, like if you go up against a smaller, speedier guy, Jackson, Gio, these guys, like all of a sudden now you got Klaus, this giant. You're already, if you're a center back, you're already ridiculously tired. You got a guy going up against you with fresh legs, fresh ideas, and now can just outpower you. Yeah. I think it's a really great problem to have for City.
Yeah, I was glad to have that as unfortunately we didn't perform well, in the Leagues Cup or whatever as we were hoping. But I'm glad that we had that opportunity, take some time and, let some of these guys, get some rest as well, because now we're going to come back, after that break and I think just completely dominate again and finish really strong.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Go on, OJ.
Well, I was going to say for me, I mean, if you think about the forward group, I mean, not only will you have Joe Keeney, who's your leading goal scorer right now, you have Klaus coming back. Sam Adeniran has definitely earned time out there. And then you've got Note V. Thorson joining the team soon, who
didn't look bad. Forward,
also a large guy, 6'2", however many pounds, but another guy kind of like fill the Klaus and Adeniran kind of role. It's really nice having those tall forwards like that.
For sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this team is really built well. I think the construction of the roster has been phenomenal, and they have heart too. And that's the thing that I absolutely love about it is that they have heart, and we in St. Louis, we love heart more than we love results. Like, hate to say it like that, but I mean, we're used to kind of winning it because of the Cardinals and stuff. But for years and years and years, the Blues were a fun product to watch, even though they were losing. You know what I mean? They went out there and tried years. This was the years when David Backes was coming up, TJ Oshie, David Braun, Pietrangelo, even Berglund, although I don't want to ever mention Patrick Berglund ever again. Those guys, when they're coming up, they were really exciting because you could see the talent that they had coming up, but also too that they wanted to win. They were out there, they were young, they were hungry. They just didn't get the results that led to that. But that's where City, I think, is different. Not only are we getting results, but you can see the passion that we have in the fans. You know what I mean? Like just coming up with some like random stuff. Did you hear the chant that they were saying after Berkey made that first save, that point blank save?
Yeah. They didn't just make that up.
No. I know that. Though, I never heard it. Yeah, that's a new one. It's not one that I heard before. But saying Berkey in the form of Zombie by the Cranberries, that was freaking crazy. That was cool to me. Yeah. But it just shows passion. I know that the players draw energy off that because it looked like the game was very tightly contested. We get that first goal, energy gets just completely racked up, and all of a sudden the City just goes to a different gear that Austin couldn't keep up with. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I definitely believe that is, that definitely goes into it as well, that these players match the heart of St. Louis, and hopefully we can, come down with an MLS chip. That'd be awesome in our first year being champions. It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, you can really go down the list of people that play, and they all have had good moments. Like they're all good players. It seems like we just have a lot of decent, solid players. I mean, and now that we're getting Joachim Nielsen back, I mean, he's a center back, if I'm not mistaken. And he was when we signed him, we were intending for him to be our starter at that position, or one of our starters at that position. And obviously he got hurt. So once he gets in the flow, like, to me, our back line has kind of been our biggest weakness at times. I feel like they get burned too much at times. Some of it's the style of play, but some of it is I don't think that we're as fast back there as we might like to be. But anyway, this guy coming back could really help shore up what I consider to be a weakness of ours currently, and just make us all the more dangerous. So, a lot of things to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, again, the rest of the season is going to be interesting. We only got 10 games left. I'm sitting there going, all right, if we can go 500, right, and go 5-5, that's 15 extra points put on top of it. Well, that means that nobody, let's see, that means that if we win an extra 15 points, that means we would be guaranteed a home spot essentially. We are only 9 points ahead. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but yeah, I'm very excited to see what City can do for the rest of the way here. But
Yeah,
hopefully
I think they'll do
we can
great.
get some more W's. Yeah,
We
exactly.
will. No doubt about it.
All right, guys. Well, let's head here to our sign off. Adam, you want to tell the good listeners here where they can reach out to us and interact with us?
Yes, definitely hook up with our Facebook at facebook.com/the hometown losers, LOUSERS. Give us a like, share, comment, tell your buddies. Also check us out on the new Twitter, which is also known as x.com/hometown losers, and give us a X or retweet or whatever they call it nowadays. We appreciate your re-X us, whatever you want to do. Just talk to us, please. We're lonely.
Oh God. All right, OJ, what do you have for the game of the week?
So I'm gonna do 2 games this time, and it's actually for more like almost 2 weeks. So they're both St. Louis City games. They're both St. Louis City games, and the first one obviously is on 8/26 at Orlando, but then the next one is 8:30, so that's on a Wednesday, believe it or not, at 7:30 p.m. against FC Dallas. So that's why I brought 2 games up, because we won't be back on before they happen.
For those 2 games,
and also, hopefully people hear this and realize that that's happening and they don't miss it. So that's it. On 8:30, 7:30 p.m., you got Dallas here, and on 8/26 at 6:30 p.m., St. Louis will be in Orlando. Those are my games of the week.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate the heads up on that. We do have, again, 2 MLS games, which is very rare nowadays, but it's it'd be good. Hopefully 2 W's that we can have there. So,
yep.
All right, guys. Well, as always, it was fun talking to you guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate the listeners as well. You can catch us next week here on the Hometown Losers podcast. Have a great night, everybody.
Hey, this is Josh. Thanks for checking out and tuning in to the Hometown Losers podcast. Check us out next week as we continue our silliness and talk a little bit about the St. Louis sports scene. Catch you next week.